Welcome to Liquidity Matters, our second podcast from the LiquidCapital.AI. And today I'm your host, Zubair Quazi, the co-founder and CEO of Liquid Capital. Today we got some important insights to share in the world of finance and the private market, specifically about the matter and important role of financial regulations and compliance in Liquid Capital's product. Joining me today is our advisor, Bill Schreiber, who is a former partner at the Fenwick and West, where he counseled numerous VC-backed companies like Uber, Zappos, Good Technology, Voodoo, People Systems, and many more. So welcome, Bill.
Great to be here.
Thank you. So I just wanted to do a disclaimer and talk about Liquid Capital before I ask you questions. So before we proceed, a quick reminder, the podcast is not a financial advice. We encourage all our listeners to consult with their own financial advisors before making any investment decisions. We are here to inform and discuss, but your personal financial situation should always be assessed with your professional guidance. So, Bill, as you know, Liquid Capital is working towards providing early and continuous liquidity to the private funds. And we are creating a compliant marketplace. And we wanted to address how important this compliant marketplace is. So let me ask you the first questions. How do you rate the importance of compliant marketplace and financial regulations in this kind of product offerings?
Oh, it's just, it's incredibly important. If you don't comply with the securities laws, you're going to end up, as a buyer or seller, or as Liquid Capital, you're going to end up with all kinds of problems with regulators. There's all kinds of potential remedies that could happen. They could void the transaction. They could come up with fines. So it's desperately important to be perfect in this area.
Thank you. So far, what you have seen and how we are approaching from the Liquid Capital's point of view, what are the key takeaways that you see that, we are doing it right and possibly we're not addressing right?
So I'd say two main points. The first main point is we've made the decision as a company to only deal with buyers and sellers who are accredited investors. So in other words, people that the SEC regulations are much simpler on, because the SEC historically has always taken the position that people of high net worth can take care of themselves and they don't need the SEC to hold their hands. So by only using accredited investors, we can use a similar securities exemption that you would use if you were a high worth person buying stock in a venture capital financing or something like that. So it becomes very fast, very simple. So that's why we decided to only deal with accredited investors. If we dealt with unaccredited investors, there would just be a sea of compliance type activities that we would have to do, which we've decided would just make our product and service much, much less valuable.
Thank you. So on that point, we address the buyer side of the aspect. How about our customers in this point, in this private funds, and when they're floating something in our marketplace, how do you see the compliance and regulations are important for them, and how do you see that this is implemented in Liquid Capital product?
Yeah. So again, it's a lot easier on the fund side because they all, by definition, are going to be accredited investors. So that's the key, is they have everybody that's being involved as a buyer or seller be accredited.
Thank you. So going in a little bit further than this. So as you see this, this is probably the first of its kind or marketplace for this kind of trading. Do you see any kind of concerns that might be coming up from either from the buyers or the sellers in this marketplace?
Any concerns from a business perspective or legal perspective?
Legal perspective.
No, not really. I mean, I think we'll talk a little bit about know your customer later, but that's one big piece of it. And the other big piece of it is literally it's as simple as just dealing with accredited buyers and accredited sellers. So, given that, again, the legal scrutiny is just much different than it is if we weren't dealing with just accredited investors.
Correct. So that's kind of leads to our next conversation. Next point is the KYC and the anti-money laundering aspect of it. So what's your take on that?
So we are talking with what would you call it, Zubair, the leading firm in the world when it comes to this area.
Yes.
So very well known, very highly respected, and again, we're not cutting any corners in this area. And so we're able to outsource this to a company who does it all the time, and so that's how we're addressing that.
Absolutely. So saying that, we have that, legal firm that we are working with, but also the in-house strength that we have, and how do you see the team is approaching the compliance and regulations in their day-to-day activities?
Well, I think it's a great management team. This was side by side with how are we going to build the software and how are we going to get the buyers and sellers side by side from that from day one. That I've been involved with the company was to get the compliance done. There's a member of the management team who his expertise is know your customer. We have one of the best law firms in the world when it comes to securities laws and software in general in O'Melveny and Myers. There's a publication called American Lawyer, and they rate what they call the let me just get it right, the A-list, and they've been on the A-list for American Lawyer for 12 straight years. So it's not just the people with the company and the advisors, it's also we've got an incredibly strong law firm with all the resources behind us as well.
No, thank you, Bill. I mean, that's coming from you, and it testament is very, very important for us. So just one other thing I like to add over there, that the team definitely plays a huge crucial role in navigating this complex landscape, and this is not really a very simple landscape that we are actually dealing with. So what would be your vote of confidence for our buyers and sellers in this market, if you have to say?
Well, I think we've got legally, I think we have it set up. I mean, I know that we have it set up properly. If the buyers and sellers are like it as well, I think that's the next step. If we were forced to make changes from what I consider the gold standard for how to set something like this up, and we had to think about tweaking something, that would be problematic, potentially very problematic. But the way we have it, the way we're thinking about it right now, I think it's best in class and the gold standard.
Thank you, Bill. I mean, that's really, really insightful, and thank you for your time. So this concludes our today's episode of Liquidity Matters. Thank you for joining us through this and the intricacies of finance and the private markets. Stay tuned for more insight in the future episodes. Until next time, this is Zubair Quazi. We are signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.